Good evening, meat suits. Welcome back to Read It and Weep. This is a podcast about movies and friendship. This is season 5, Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, and we are just 3 Laker girls who are playing a very long movie watching game. Quick note, for those who are new to us, this podcast is only for distribution in Madagascar.
Fuck you. That was the joke I was gonna do.
Neither of which recognize American copyright. I am your host. I'm Alex Falcone, recording as always in lovely North Koreatown, Los Angeles, in East Hollywood. Very close to where I'd say not quite in the shadow of the Paramount Studios, but not far away either. I am joined by my 2 most stalwart compatriots. First up, he's at Anthony Lopez, part 2 on Twitter. He's in Southeast Portland, and he's not like the other Kennedys. He's different. It's Anthony Lopez.
Great to be here. You stole my joke, so let me find a new one here real fast.
Mike, you could do the one about having a fabulous ass, but it's the wrong color.
No, everyone, people always think that these podcasts take millions of dollars to make, but that's after gross net deduction, profit percentage deferment, 10% of the nut cash. Every podcast costs $2,184. That's a fact.
Still significantly more than we're taking in on Patreon. Also joining us, he's a co-host. No, he's not joining us. Also joining us in Northern California. When he left Phoenix, it wasn't because he wanted to raise soybeans. He had to get away. Why, Ezra? Was it because of me? Was it because you wanted me and it burned inside of you? It's Ezra Fox.
Keep it together. K-I-T. Keep it together.
Keep it together. Can you do that? My wife and I were trying to do that last night watching the movie. Like, keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together. Like, how many times fast can you say that?
Keep it together.
That was really solid.
Keep it together. Keep it together.
Keep it together. If Hunter was here, I would say he has a fabulous ass, but it's the wrong country, or the wrong color. Ooh, fabulous ass, but it's the wrong color. But he's not. He's off in the country, wandering around. We hope he's okay.
What is the right country for an ass to be? If it's the wrong, his is the wrong one, but what's the right one?
Buttistan?
Okay. Canada?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
You could have asked me to prepare something for this. I would have been
well,
ready.
You know what? Sometimes you riff, and then that means off the top of the dome, and sometimes there's nothing good there. That's fine.
Sometimes the top of your dome is empty.
Alex,
got a bad dome.
If Ezra had sent you a text like an hour ago saying what countries would be good asses, you would have just blocked him and canceled this podcast, right? So there's no way that you
would have.
That is a weird thing to send somebody.
Yeah. Well, hey, great news. Speaking of great asses, Hunter, are you here?
Hello, I'm in the chat.
Hey,
hanging out with everybody else.
Great ass, but it's the wrong color.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks for being here. So we have to keep this going. We have Ezra has somewhere to be, and Anthony has a brand new PS5 fresh off the truck waiting downstairs for him as soon as we finish this episode. So let's get Bowfinger. We got places to be. I want to quickly thank all of our meat buddies. Thank you guys. Metreon.com. Okay, so really quick segment about the news. Number 1, personal news. We Live in the Future episode 3 is out right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AlexFalcone, about Soylent Green.
Ooh.
I really want you to just keep this pace the entire podcast. Let's do an hour podcast shoved into 15 minutes. Anyway, moving on to Bowfinger. Here's my summary. Ezra, what are your thoughts? Anthony, what are your thoughts? Hunter, what are your thoughts?
It's just like if you played at 2x speed, but without having to do it. We're just going to do it for you.
Yeah.
People already listen to 2x speed, so you'd be at 4x. It'd be so good.
Yeah. Intense. You get so much podcast done in a half hour.
Oh my God, so much podcast.
But I mean, Alex, I don't think you have like the stamina training to do a whole podcast at that speed.
Against until you told me it wasn't good enough.
No, I don't. I mean, I think like a professional boxer couldn't do a podcast at that speed. Like you need real endurance training if you're going to keep that pace.
I have the stamina of a corgi. I am going to be out of breath in 10 seconds here. But I have my new episode of We Live in the Future. It's about Soylent Green, which we talked about on the show. And I rewatched for this YouTube series, which is where I watch movies from the past set in 2022 and see how they held up futurism-wise. And I got to tell you, we did not all love Soylent Green on the show. I really liked it the second time. I'm not sure what happened, what triggered, but I really I think pretty highly of this movie now, and I think people should watch it. You can learn more about that. Also, I think this is my favorite episode of this YouTube series I've done so far. So I think it's pretty funny, and I think it's some good, interesting stuff. YouTube.com/AlexFalcone, which is also where you can watch this show if you want to see our faces.
Now you have to tell us what's your least favorite when you do it. Like next time you have a not great episode, you didn't mention say like
episode yet.
This is my last episode so far. If you're gonna tell us it's your favorite,
this one in.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I'll keep on the lookout. Also, I will be in Seattle this weekend, Portland next week, and St. Louis the week after doing stand-up. You can find more at alexfalcone.ninja. Okay, really quick on the news. I have an important question to ask you guys. Why are there so many Pinocchios? What is happening with Pinocchios?
I mean, it's public domain.
Public domain, baby. There's also a Pinocchio video game.
It's public domain in 2013. Like, why are we just getting? We're just gonna get our face mashed with Pinocchios this year.
Yeah. Look, it happens. It is. I mean, Hollywood is always. It is kind of weird that there's like a Pinocchio video game also coming out next year along with the two movies.
So there's okay, so just to catch everybody up, Disney's live action where they ruin one of their animated treasures, they're doing that with Pinocchio.
Yeah. Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks.
Yes, which sounds good. You've won me over. You get Thomas the Hank Engine in it, it's probably going to be fine. And then also Guillermo del Toro is going to do one where Pinocchio has sex with a fish, presumably. And then there's a video game coming out next year where Pinocchio just looks like Timothy Chalamet and is hot as balls. Everyone's just like excited for how hot this Pinocchio is, but it's a video game, so you like lie and smoke cigars on an island in a game. I don't know.
There was also
cool.
the Italian Pinocchio, like a year or two ago.
Pinocchimon, though.
Catch all the Pinocchios.
Pinocchimon, though.
Yeah.
Come on.
But the Pinocchios in war against each other.
The guy who did Life is Beautiful, right? He released a Pinocchio a year or two ago, right?
No, that was a while back, dude.
What was that one good?
No,
I don't know. I never saw it.
Pinocchio, Roberto Benigni.
But no, I mean, it is
20 years ago. That was 20 years ago, my friend.
Wait, was it? Did he not like make it recently?
Again, I mean, 2002.
I could have. Oh shit!
It's been a tough 2 decades for everyone, I think. So
yeah.
Understandable. It's where he is Pinocchio, and it's weird. I think. I think they did not like that he have like a man child being Pinocchio. I think people were not a big fan of that.
I mean, isn't it like it's probably like Guillermo del Toro or whatever Disney. One of them, like probably the Guillermo del Toro one, was like we know Disney is going to make this. He's always wanted to make one, so like. When a big studio is going to make something, it's like, well, now's the time for us to make ours, right? So it's like easier to get money to make your Pinocchio when you already know Disney is going to make it.
Yeah. Anthony, for your mental health. Okay, so Pinocchio, directed by Robert Benigni, 2002. But there was an Italian Pinocchio in 2019 by Matteo Garon.
Okay, that's probably the one.
So also Italian, like, I don't know. Which makes this even weirder. If there was a Pinocchio 3 years ago, okay. Here's the question: if you guys could only experience one of the upcoming Pinocchios, which is it? Is it Zemeckis? Is it Del Toro? Or is it Fuckable Pinocchio, the game?
The game.
I really like Bloodborne, and this one looks a lot like Bloodborne. It looks like Bloodborne with Pinocchio, which sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, never mind. I'm out. I thought it was Fuckable Pinocchio only. It's gonna be a hard game. I don't want to play it.
Del Toro is a little hit or miss for me. I really respect his movies, and I like him a lot as an artist. But Robert Zemeckis, over the last Robert Zemeckis, one of my favorite directors of all time. When I was a child, he's made some of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
but the last 15 years of Robert Zemeckis, he has specialized in making a very specific type of fucked up night fever dream movie, right? Ever since, from Polar Express to The Witches last year, he has done nothing but make fucked up fever dreams for the last 15 years. And I respect it. I love that audacity. I cannot wait to see what he does with Pinocchio. I mean, this is the guy who made The Walk, which was the really bad movie about the guy who did the World Trade Center walk. With Joseph Gordon-Levitt's doing one of the worst French accents you've ever seen. But is a technical marvel. If you look into everything they created digitally for that movie. It's fucking fascinating, but it's an awful movie. And that sums up Robert Zemeckis' career over the last 15 years. If you look at like the technical aspect and the fact that he's out there pushing limits of what film and technology can do, it's really, really impressive. But my God, is it unfun to watch? It's basically been his thing for like 15 years at this point. And I
didn't watch the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol. Is that like that too?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, that was one of his mocap Polar Express Beowulf trilogy, right? That was his like fucked up. I mean, he talked about that time as like, you know, I am doing this so that next generations of filmmakers have an easier time using this technology. But
man,
made a bunch of nightmares. But yeah, I mean,
I appreciate the self-sacrifice, but
yeah, I'm just gonna live in the uncanny valley for like 6 years. So
he's building what he's doing is he's filling the valley with the corpses of his movies, so we can just jog across to the other side.
I mean, that's basically what he's been doing.
We have more news we could talk about, but instead we got to keep it moving because we got so much stuff to do. It's time for segment 2 of the game. All right, it's segment 2 of the game. As you all know, this year we are playing a year-long movie-watching tabletop-style game where we have to get the show to a movie that we have pre-selected in order to score points. But as close listeners may recall, no points are eligible for the entire month of August because of a constitutional crisis and a card and a series of shenanigans. So no points on the table, but we're moving from actor to actor, just like the Kevin Bacon game combined with the game Exquisite Corpse to make Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse. So this week we're watching the 1999 American satirical buddy comedy film Bowfinger, directed by Frank Oz and written by Steve Martin. Also starring Martin, as well as Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham, Christine Baranski, Jamie Kennedy, Eddie Murphy again, and Mindy the dog in her role as Betsy the dog, who did some really excellent dog acting.
2 weeks in a row. 2 very, very good dogs.
Good dogs.
This is all about dogs. I really liked it. This includes the best ever scene in film history of a dog walking in high heels, which, according to the Humane Society's website, she was very comfortable in the special dog high heels while filming, although she prefers her running shoes.
Aw. Also, that rubber banding the legs together, I think, was not originally in the script either. I think that was just because the dog was so good at that.
It was so funny. Also, I did find a photo that Mindy the dog came to the premiere of the film also wearing red high heels.
Okay.
That's pretty good. That's some good work. All right, so this was picked by Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
We got here via Steve Martin from last week's episode, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Why did you pick Bowfinger for us?
I've been in a real Steve Martin kick. I know Ez has been watching it too, but Only Murders in the Building. Season 2 just wrapped up. Very, very good. I really enjoyed the second season and the finale.
We're about halfway through, but we are enjoying it. And it is what an interesting thing for this year to be the year of Steve Martin. But I'm feeling it too. I'm like, especially with these 2 movies in a row, I'm like, I kind of want to watch more Steve Martin right now.
Yeah. I've been doing only Steve Martin and Selena Gomez.
Yeah. Only Steve Martin's in the building.
Yes.
Yeah, but we talked a little bit about Bowfinger at the beginning of last week's episode. I didn't know I was picking until a few minutes into last week's episode.
You were really cool about the whole thing.
I was very throughout. But yeah, so I had specifically mentioned at the beginning of the episode how I really love this movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. I was curious how it held up, and this show, provides. We're feasting off this show, and it gave me a chance to revisit a movie. I was very nervous how well this was gonna hold up, but man, I thought this movie still fucks so hard. I mean, this movie is so good.
Steve Martin's done. It's got a little bit of 90s cringe in it, but mostly held up, and some very funny, like a lot funnier than I was expecting.
Eddie Murphy is unbelievable in this movie in both
Eddie
roles.
Murphy is so my only complaint about Eddie Murphy's character is that his second character is a surprise in the film, but it's the only Eddie Murphy character on the poster. So the whole time, the first half of the movie, I was like, this is not what I thought he looked like. And then the other guy shows up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the character.
I didn't even notice that.
But yeah, I mean, this is the type of movie though that like I was watching this thinking of you, Alex. about how we got to get you the fuck out of LA. Because what this movie is really about.
Right, you're going to become a Scientologist.
No, just the way LA in general, it has a lot of different forms. It has a lot of different varieties of effects.
Yeah.
But if you live in there long enough, that city will melt your brain and destroy it.
I mean, I'll tell you, this movie did make me want to become a Scientologist. Was that the point?
Yeah.
That was one of the points,
possibly.
Yeah.
But
they
no,
were,
I mean, like this
thing, they actually like they were clearly being roasted with the like paper triangle hats, but also they were like really calming and helpful to him when he was being when he was having mental health crises. Maybe we should all be Scientologists.
Alex, remember, the aliens are going to get you. You're not going to get squished by a giant foot. And even though you feel like you might ignite, you probably won't.
I probably won't.
Good advice.
Also, he was like, I want to show it to the Laker dancers. And they were like, do not do that. I mean, that's good. They were solid advice across the board. For those of you who have not seen the 1999 American satirical buddy comedy, Bowfinger, directed by Frank Oz. Did I mention that?
Yes.
Cool. Miss Piggy herself, as you said last week, Anthony.
Yeah. Well, you guys know about, I think I've told the story before, but on The Score, one of Marlon Brando's last movies, Marlon Brando apparently was like kind of like collaborative the first few weeks of filming, the first few days, and then someone told him Frank Oz was Mrs. Piggy, and he completely stopped being responsive and exclusively called him Miss Piggy for the rest of the set, rest of the filming. Because he was a fucking monstrous asshole.
Smart guy that guy was. Okay, back to work. We have to get this summary. People haven't seen it. Here is. I'm trying really hard for you guys. I'm trying to move.
Appreciate it. Keep it moving.
This is my official 4-point micro summary of Bowfinger. Okay, local regional actor turned acting teacher turned failed movie producer and director Steve Martin decides he's going to make a movie. Come hell or high water, and that movie is going to be starring the biggest movie star in the world. The only problem is that movie star does not know he is in a movie. So the whole crew sets up shots in public places when he's there with hidden cameras. And
I mean, and to be fair, Tom Cruise didn't know he was in that vampire movie for 2 years. So
2 years later.
This has happened before.
Perfect line. Perfect justification for how the whole thing works. Oh, it was great. And he actually, like, in general, this huge actor does not notice that he's in a movie because he's also having paranoid delusions about aliens and giant feet, and so he thinks all of this is just like real alien stuff happening. And the Scientologists try to help him, but it doesn't entirely work. Also, he desperately wants to show his wang to the Laker girls. Eventually,
Eddie Kennedy is telling him to take them down a peg.
Yeah,
funny.
No one is up on too many pegs than those unpaid dancers for the NBA. Do you guys know that they're not paid usually? That the dancing crews they're not. I believe.
I think the Laker girls are paid.
The Trailblazer dancers were not paid, and I believe actually paid a significant amount of money
difference between the Trailblazer girls and the Laker girls, which are like a fucking institution, right? Like,
this may be true, but in general, severely taken advantage of.
I mean, even paid. This looks like it's tiny. I'm seeing like in the $30,000 a year range. So
I that's like the highest dancers like lost money to be Blazer dancers. Anyway, this all. Oh, also, Steve Martin literally steals money from an actress who's fresh off the bus from Ohio, and there are no consequences. It never comes up again. He just takes her money, and then it's fine.
Well, she gets. I mean, she's again. Everyone in this movie has Hollywood brain rot, right? Even her immediately falls into like. They're manipulating each other in horrible ways and are just completely obsessed with making movies. Everyone in this movie.
Some issues with her. We're going to come back with that character. I'm going to come back to that. Not with Heather Graham, who I think is very funny in this. I love watching good actors play bad actors. That's a very funny role. Yeah. And it seems like the most fun you ever see actors have is when they're being bad at acting as an acting job. It's fun. Anyway, all of this, this is the key. This is a Steve Martin comedy. So it's not about these characters getting their comeuppance. It's not about like, oh, here's a life lesson about why it just is going to work. It works. It turns out fine. It works. They get away with it. They make a movie. People like the movie. It's great fun. They get really close to losing the movie, but then it turns out he did show his wang to the Laker girls, and so they blackmail him, and then it's just fine. It's just fine. Yeah. Everything works. And that is a surprising and delightful way for this movie to go, to be like, the thing that is fun is if they succeed at making the movie. We don't want to watch them learn their lesson. We don't want to watch them be put down. We want them to just get to make movies this way. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think good-hearted button mashing basically works in a corrupt system. I think
this is a movie about the underdogs and the freaks, getting one over, right? Like this is an underdog sports movie, essentially. Underdog story of like the scrappy little team that can, and like their reward is making garbage in Thailand, right? Like they don't get rewarded with like huge box office and stuff, right? They go from like completely unknown to barely known at all. Right. Like they scratch and fight into the tiniest, smallest amount.
And they're so happy.
They
love it so much. Yeah, they love it. And they're all together as a team.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that makes it not quite an underdog movie is that the underdog sports movie, all those players know that they are on the underdog team. Yeah. And this one, the coach lies and tells them they're on the good team. Yeah. And then there's no consequences to that lie either.
But yeah, I mean, I think that we're missing the real point here. The main thing we need to talk about is how the most important thing from this movie is clearly about how Christina Balinski is the queen of camp and maybe the funniest human being in movie histories.
Really funny.
She is so fucking dialed in this. Like, the way she does camp and everything, like she can be a really great serious actress. But when she is like watching her takes and her eyes are really big.
So good.
Or like everything about her performance is so perfect and so campy and so over the top. It is one of the best. I mean, I think Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin are both great. Eddie Murphy in particular is fucking phenomenal in this.
Second character Eddie Murphy. First character Eddie Murphy is fine.
Oh, come on. When he shoots those symbols with the gun, that's funny as shit.
That was hilarious.
Right. That is the best moment.
So he plays the hugely famous action star, and then he also plays the desperately nerdy action star's brother. And that second character is one of my favorite Eddie Murphy characters I've seen. He's so really funny in it. The character is, I just want to do errands for people. Like
that would be a huge,
desperately wants to get up for me. Yeah, it'd be a huge step. Oh, he's so excited about it. He's so genuine. And when Heather Graham's character has to be topless briefly in the movie, and he can't stop himself from giggling, and it's
you're gonna be a star.
That his work, that's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy performances. I think it's really, really solid.
The way he delivers one of those like great stupid Steve Martin jokes that really needs to be delivered perfectly to hit is when they ask him, would you mind cutting your hair? And he's like, yeah, sure, but I would rather have someone else do it. It usually goes bad when I do. It is such a stupid joke. But it's delivered perfectly.
Right. So that's a funny joke that probably like Steve Martin says in auditions back in the day. Yeah. Imagine him delivering that as a like wackadoodle punchline, but then Eddie Murphy delivers it as a genuinely confused,
so earnest. Everything is so earnest. Is so good.
And having watched like other Eddie Murphy movies, I wasn't aware he could be this earnest. I feel like a lot of his movies got into just like, I'm wearing a fat suit and farting noises a lot. Like he went so over the top on some other things that to have this character be so earnest this whole movie, I think he just nails that.
Yeah. It's so good. I mean, it reminds me kind of more of Coming to America, where it's like he is just a really like sweet, like naive person in that, and that kind of shines through. It's more in that.
Yeah. It honestly reminds me of John Candy, actually. It's a similar type of performance where it's like a comic performance where the performer has a lot of like love for the character that they're portraying and they like him as a person.
Yeah. Well, and like the way he like is able to play the two so differently, and I mean, like probably like the most famous scene in this movie is the freeway scene, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
But the way he carries himself, and even though like the effects look a little silly now, it's still one of the most intense scenes in a comedy I've ever seen. It's so nerve-wracking,
so good,
and feels so fucking dangerous.
Yeah. So just to catch everybody up, he plays the action star's brother who gets roped into pretending to be the action star, and one of the scenes they do is make him run across an LA freeway with traffic whizzing by very, very quickly, and they just make him do it for real. Although, the green screen for the car is a little bad, but also that is the least realistic Hollywood scene in the movie. I have never seen traffic on the freeway move that quickly. I've never, especially that freeway. That freeway is bumper to bumper every minute of every day.
You just easily climb on top of the cars.
The simplest freeway to cross when it's in full traffic. It would be almost embarrassingly
easy. You outpace
easy.
the cars very quickly.
This is 99, man. This is when Hollywood was moving. It's not all stuff with influencers and TikTok stars.
I've only been here a couple years. I did actually. The other most unrealistic Hollywood part of this is when they found parking at the Griffith Observatory.
Yeah,
that is insane. There's no the drive up to the observatory would take you a couple hours, and there's almost never parking because 9 times out of 10 they're filming a movie at the Griffith Observatory. So the fact that there was just like not that many people around and they found a parking space, a little bit can be. On the other hand, Scientology helicopters probably above me right now. That is very realistic.
Yeah,
they're
everywhere. Very possible. This I think is maybe my favorite dual role movie. Like. Definitely above Dead Ringers in terms of like
the clumps.
Yeah. Well, that's like a quadruple role.
Oh, you mean exactly 2? Okay, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. 2 and no more.
2, yes. No, I mean like I like this and
what about the Parent Trap?
Yeah, but
I almost worked that in. That's so funny.
Yeah, but the new Parent Trap, not the old Parent Trap.
I like the classic Parent Trap more.
I know, it's okay.
Look, I'm not against the new one, but I did like the old one. How do you feel about Freaky Fridays? Do you like the new Freaky Friday or the old Freaky Friday?
I don't think I ever saw the original.
Oh, the originals. I like the swim team aspect of the original. In general, I like both of them.
I'll take any body swap, and I'll take any.
I love body swaps, and I also like secret twins. That's really fun.
You know what I like? I like when ooze comes out of people's faces. Oh, this movie has a great ooze coming out of people's faces.
The arm drop also.
Very funny.
But yeah, that whole performance in that sequence is so good. Great effect. I really like Frank Oz's direction in this movie. A lot of the little touches he does. A lot of like. There's, like a great gag very early on that's just kind of set up, but you see Christine Balinski in like the plaster head cast for like a split second in an early thing, and they never reference it. They never show what it's for until the very end. So if you're not paying attention, you won't even get the joke. I really love, but like, that Steve Martin kind of sweetness you were talking about, the way all the characters, like the way like the Mexican immigrant film crew that could be like kind of a lazy, mean joke. Like the way it's like even they get swallowed up into the Hollywood machine and become Hollywood people by the end of it.
Yeah, and like, in the midst of reading books, and they're talking about the best lenses to use and the way they change the aperture, and they just that gag starts cringy. But he does at least make that film crew really high status as it goes, and he makes them all like earnest and heroic, and I think that helps it a lot. The first part of that's a little cringy, but
it's that way that everything about Hollywood, right, is like everyone it touches, it infects them in some way or another.
My favorite version of that is where the cops show up and ask for a permit, and he's like, "Have you ever thought of acting?" And then later the cops show up, and you're like, "Oh no, it's the cops," but it's not. It's that guy, and he's acting, and he's having the time of his life.
I really loved. There's a great line Robert Downey Jr. has. It's like a throwaway line when he's talking about how his wife tried to get the car from him in a divorce and how awful that is. And his friend goes, "Who gets the kids?" She did, right? Like it's just again that like this fucked up place, man.
I mean, it is interesting. I'm in such a different portion of the city, and it's also 20 years later. But I don't see that much of all of that. I don't know how much of that's happening. It is weird, the part of Hollywood that I am in, and I do see occasional very strange things. It is weird to like hang out with people who are just like the dipshits I hung out with in Portland, doing the same art in the same way, but these guys have Maseratis. Like that's a weird switch. Like in Portland, I was like jealous when somebody got on a better show than me, and then here it's like, oh, that person just got $1 million this week. Like there is weird stuff, but I am not in the like producer world that Steve Martin is in, so I don't know. The one place where it bothers me in this movie, and I had a very good time. The one thing that I do want to talk a little bit on is the touch on a little bit on is the Heather Graham character. I feel already a little weird when Hollywood movies have extremely famous and successful people shitting on young dreamers who show up in the city. Like it already feels a little weird. There's like a feeling of like lottery winners saying like, why would you play the lottery, idiot? Like that feels a little bad. And then to make her character turn, instead of making her like she gets sucked into the system a little bit the way the other characters do, but hers is to make her like conniving and sexually devious, and she sleeps with people to get what she wants out of the industry, which is like a hacky trope to do in comedy anyway, I think. And also, especially with what we know about how the Hollywood system works, where like people like Weinstein was like, you have to sleep with me to get anything, to then be like, now our comedy trope is you slept with somebody to get something. Like it just feels like the kind of person who shows up here off the bus is such a target for so many things, including like Steve Martin's crappy acting class that he had posters for that he was teaching before this from a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. Like there's so many people trying to take advantage of it at every opportunity. And so to see that all and be like, oh, but don't worry, she took control by doing this, like by throwing her body at everybody. It feels so hacky for a comedy, and then also feels like kind of deeply fucked up.
Kind of feels like you're just slut shaming her, honestly.
No, like, doesn't feel like that.
That's sort of what it feels like to me.
That's
what it kind of feels like to me.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie is where Steve Martin has slept with her, and then she sleeps with somebody else, and he's like, "We're broken up," and she's like, "Why?"
Yeah,
because you slept with somebody else. She's like, "So?" And he's like, "Ah, good point." And then they just move on with their relationship.
That is a great joke.
Great joke.
I mean, there is the really stupid joke I have thought about for years, which is do you like Smashing Pumpkins? I love doing that. That is a joke that has lived in my head.
Such a dumb
When did this movie come out? 1999?
Yeah.
23 years.
Oh, dear.
I thought about that joke at least once a month. But every time someone mentions the band, the Smashing Pumpkins, I think I love doing that.
I love doing that.
It is.
Especially that, just to go back to one more thing on this Heather Graham character, and I'll stop being Bummer Train if you want. But there's this, to the extent that the movie has a morality, it's that there's a part where Steve Martin says he cannot take advantage of the nerdy brother because he's an innocent, and that hits his conscience, which means that everyone else he takes advantage of, he believes to be guilty of something and to deserve it, including Heather Graham's character, who he literally he ruins her life probably in the long run with that debit card.
No, I think she ended up okay.
The amount of maybe the amount of kids
I think we're meant to think she ended up okay,
card,
even though I get what you're saying. You're bringing in the reality of it, right? In reality, she would be screwed. But I think as far as thematically, what we're supposed to feel like at the end of the movie is that she's going to be okay.
She's probably okay, but to suggest that she's not an innocent, it's morally okay to take advantage of her, feels really gross. That's the part that loses me a little bit. And if he never had a conscience, if he didn't sort them according to innocence and guilt, I actually would have felt fine about it. I think the fact that he was like, look, I am willing to draw a line, and it's here with this guy, but it's not here with this woman, just felt a little bit.
But the thing
gross.
is, he doesn't draw the line. He immediately goes back on it, right? This
that's
is
true.
a guy who has a clip-on
rat
tail.
You make some implications.
Alex, clip-on rat tail, all right? That's the fucking guy we're talking about, all right? Yeah. This guy, I mean, this is a movie that, it's an underdog story about the kind of scummy people in Hollywood who dream about making movies, right? But, even dreamers occasionally get, something done, you know? Can we actually talk about the clip-on rat tail? Because
yes, please.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And the audible relief that came to my household when they revealed that it was a clip-on and he took it off was so palpable. The whole first 5 minutes is just the second you see the rat tail, you're like, what is that? Why is it there? God, I hope it's not in this whole movie.
No. So that,
and then when he yanks it off, it's so exciting. It's like, oh
when
my God,
Steve Martin is when we learn that he is a guy who teaches acting classes and has never done anything, I'm like, and then we see his rat tail, we're like, oh yeah, that's what that guy has. He has a rat tail for sure. It was, and I mentioned it to my wife, it was a great character thing, and she's like, it looks really bad. Is that even it looks barely attached to his hair. And then 10 seconds later, he pops it off, and it was disconnected. It made everybody here feel very good.
I love the idea of having to find a clip-on rat tail Steve Martin shade of white hair.
Yeah, that's
true.
Yeah.
They probably don't make a lot of those. They probably don't make a lot of those. Just solid white.
You're driving around all day,
Yeah,
all
you're
day.
looking for it.
Well, I mean, they could have just had Steve Martin grow it out for a while, right? And then just like harvest,
and then
it gets a little extra.
You could have donated it to Locks of Love, but instead you gave it to Steve Martin to look like he has a rat tail.
Alex, as someone who lives in LA, you ever think about just sneaking onto a lot and doing some shenanigans?
Yeah, why not?
Your mind yet?
I don't know if this has changed from the 90s, but there are so many security guards here. Like I know something is filming in my neighborhood because I see blocks of security guards first. Like before you get to any generators or cables on the sidewalk, you see it like rows of security guards. And I'm not saying they all look like they're ready to put their body on the line to protect this film. A lot of them look like they're getting paid to just like watch videos on their phone all night. But there's a lot of security on sets now.
Hollywood.
I feel like a lot of old movies, people just ran into movie studios, and it's real hard to do. I think.
Well, it's like like there will never be someone who has the opportunity that Spielberg had, right? You guys know the story about Steven Spielberg when he was 16.
No,
he would go on the Paramount lot. He found an empty building and he set up an office, and he would have people come and meet him on the Paramount lot, like he was supposed to be there.
No, Spielberg was a straight up con man.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, not a con man. He was just basically squatting on the Paramount lot using stuff he could find. And, like that's how we got.
It's a classic The Sting moment where we're just going to build a post office here that's not real. He built his own little con office.
Yeah, he built a little shingle in the Paramount lot. I work here. I'm supposed to be here, and people were just well, clearly he's supposed to be here. He has an office on the Paramount lot. But yeah, he was really young and he did that.
There's good security now.
Yeah. But it's you used to be able to do stuff like that. You used to be able to just walk in and go, I got an idea for a movie. I
do have a lot of fondness for the Paramount lot because it's the closest. It's the only major studio that's still in Hollywood. Most of the studio stuff is over in the Valley where it's 30 degrees hotter for some reason. But Paramount is still right here, and so I drive by it or I jog by it all the time. And it's a good looking lot. It's a nice classic Hollywood lot. It's got that big entranceway that you see from Three Amigos. It's cool. If I was gonna break in and do con man stuff at anyone, it would be that one for sure.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's your favorite. I also really like the building that they used as the cult building, which that big blue and green buildings, which is the Pacific Design Center. In real life, they call it the Blue Whale because it's giant. But very cool looking buildings in Hollywood. That I like getting to see them there. We actually looked up the bungalow that he was in because actually one thing that I liked about this is it really did feel like my neighborhood when she gets off the bus because it looked shitty. I was like, this is the shitty part of Hollywood that I am used to and I don't see very often. But the bungalow is it's much closer to the place where you can pay $50,000 to have your name written on the sidewalk. It's closer to that than where I actually am, but the Walk of Fame. But it did look like looks like the parts of Hollywood that are not nice, which is where I live. My two other quick, or actually one other, I've used most of them, my Alexi's for today, my awards for tiny things in the movie. A lot of stuff we already mentioned, Dogs in High Heels, the movie costing $2,184. The Neighborhood.
Funny thing about that, if you do the math, he is 52 years old. So he says, I saved $1
away.
Oh, yeah, okay. It takes you his age from the $1 a year. That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
As soon as he says, I'm 49.
I love that joke because it's you can't do the math really fast in your head. So when someone says I put away $1 a week every week since I was 12 years old, in your head you're just oh, that's gonna be a shit ton of money, and it's $2,184. I love it. It's when you actually do the math, it is a very small amount of money. It's a great fucking joke.
It's a great joke. The one thing that I wanted to call specific attention to that we haven't mentioned so far, my last Lexi, is when Steve Martin is setting up his apartment for the date. Where first he pours cheap wine into expensive wine into an expensive wine bottle, and then that's not enough wine, so he just adds water to it and shakes it and puts the cork back in, and then later she's like, "I love this wine. You could drink it all night and not get drunk." which is awesome. Also, just like the way he rubber bands the dog's legs together because she likes to lay on her back with her legs spread open. Also, for some reason, his fireplace just explodes in flames every time. Like, is a great physical. But that scene, just watching Steve Martin do apartment business, is my favorite Steve Martin. Is just him doing kind of small physical things with delight, with rigor.
The way he says "cut" every time in this movie is like a full body explosion of energy. I really love. That's the stuff that Steve Martin does so well. Like in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I think of like the scene when he's running to catch the taxi, and he's got the 2 suitcases, and the way he does the physical comedy. There's a season finale of "It's Only Motors in the Building" season 2 has a really good thing when he has the move in slow motion. That is just like classic Steve Martin.
I was just like earlier in the season, there's a scene where he is going off to talk to Martin Short in the bathroom in front of the cop, and he like starts to run and then exaggeratedly walks casually, and his fake casual walk is just such a perfect comedy moment that I did not realize how much delight that brought me, but it really is wonderful.
Physical comedy, I think, ages pretty well, is what I'm learning from this. Like, I think satire can be hit and miss for sure, but like for like it's like I think it's like physical effects, right? Like those age fairly well, like in terms of social effects.
That's a good point. I think that's definitely true. Also, I think like stupid jokes age better. Like that haircut joke is still funny. The way Airplane is still really funny.
Yeah,
because every joke is dumb.
Yeah. If you know it's stupid coming out,
and it's really impressive because you got to remember that Steve Martin has done all this with an arrow in his head. Right. So I mean that the fact that he is like able to still do this.
Yeah, they make up over the sides of it, so you can't see it.
Yeah, he's got that arrow straight through his his head. They just pulled off the ends. The stick's actually in there though. Still.
That's very true. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there. We have to move on. We have so many more things to do. Let's jump into the master list. It's time, as we do every week, to rank this movie in terms of quality with the best 27 movies of all time of season 5. It's getting harder. There's more to repeat, but just to remind you some things. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from last week is currently sitting at number 16 between Pelham and In the Cut, and that is the highest ranked comedy so far. The highest ranked guy playing 2 characters is Dead Ringers at 13, but I can't make any more jokes really quickly. Okay, so
good job.
What do you need to hear in order to rank this, Anthony? Where do you feel Bowfinger falls on this list?
Give me 5 through 10.
Iron Giant, Cuckoo's Nest, Good, Bad, Ugly, Batman, Unforgiven, Apollo 13. Best movie of all time.
Oh, definitely.
Stop it.
Definitely
above Apollo 13, below Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
So you're putting this in the Batman/Unforgiven territory.
Yeah, right after Unforgiven, right before Apollo 13. This movie is definitely better than Apollo 13.
It is hard to rank. I know you're being a dick, but I think you partly mean it. It is always hard to rank comedies against serious movies. Like it is hard to be like, wow, whether or not this is better than One Flew Over the Cuckoo's. Like, is there any comedy that's better than I don't know. It's a hard way to judge. It's a hard thing to judge.
Especially a comedy like this, where it's like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles like works. If that was a drama, it would also work. It would be fine, but this wouldn't work. It's like it's not quite on that spoof level, but it's like kind of heading that way to where it's like it doesn't have to be a complete movie with real people that we believe.
I like the idea of trying to make this a drama. What's the dark reboot of Bowfinger? Is it like about the actor in the cult? Is that the thing?
No, the cult definitely sticking around, right? I mean, it's got to be way more about Scientology.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would be the focus would be about the cult.
Right. Yeah. It'd be all about Scientology, and we would drop. I feel like the essential thing with Bowfinger is we have to film someone without their knowledge and put it in a movie. Otherwise, why even do it?
Like TMZ or something like that.
I mean, I think it'd have to be like sort of like the mental destruction of Kit Ramsey, where it's like everyone is sort of like a vulture that is trying to just take from him, basically, right? And so it's more like
yeah. So what if it's like the Scientologists are making a movie about Kit Ramsey without his permission, in order to help him go crazy, so that they can then get more money from him?
Here,
Yeah.
I got something. I would do it as a real independent experimental drama and actually shoot an actor without their knowledge and then get their permission after you've completed the movie and risk it all on whether they say yes.
I'd do the fake version of it, like with like Joaquin Phoenix, where it's like he's actually in on it, but you act as if he's not.
Yeah. No, Ezra's got it. Everyone's wondering whether it's real or not.
Did you guys? I don't know if anyone, if it's even out yet, but James McAvoy has a movie coming out this year, or it came out already, where everyone else got a script except for him. So he showed up. It's a drama. It's like a murder mystery, but he showed up every day with no idea what was going to happen, and he just improv.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a classic short form improv game, but doing it the whole movie that way is fascinating.
That sounds like a lot.
There's a great one act play called Actor's Nightmare, which is basically, it's someone who's waking up in a, as they're in a play that they don't know anything about, and it is a delight. That sounds stressful. I'm gonna put it at, I guess it's like, if we're doing the half, it's like 5.5, so it's between Iron Giant and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
All right. I don't know if I'm sure somebody who listens to the show is really like better at math and could tell me whether this is the right way to do it with the halves, but
it's fine. It's a way.
I'm doing it. So Anthony gave it 10.5. You gave it 5.5. Hunter, where do you put it?
I didn't like it near as much as y'all did.
Interesting.
That's okay.
I think it's okay. I didn't think it was bad or anything. It just like kind of came and went. It's weird. I agree with everything everyone said on this podcast, but I just don't think it was that.
He's not a big fan of comedy, though, right?
Yeah, I don't really like comedy movies.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Is you really like Hollywood, and so you hate seeing it spoofed?
No. I didn't mind that at all whatsoever.
Hollywood.
I think I just didn't really care about what the movie was about, and a lot of times with a comedy that shouldn't matter, but for me, it does matter for some reason. And that's just a deficiency I have. But also, I'm just going to rank it right underneath In the Cut to just continue to emphasize that In the Cut is too low on the list.
I mean, it is a thing that I can see. This is how I feel the opposite direction with Apollo 13. It's like, since Apollo 13 is the best movie of all time, it has to be below that. And so I might actually, Anthony, you said it was between Unforgiven and Apollo 13, right?
Yeah.
You put it just above. I'm going to put it just below Apollo 13 for a similar reason to what Hunter just picked.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of comedies, but I definitely think this is the best comedy that we've done so far.
I think it was probably true.
Definitely the funniest. Like I would agree that it is the funniest movie that we've talked about. But like we've also talked about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which I felt more connected to what that story was about and what was going on with the characters.
Interesting. Yeah, I felt myself a lot less connected to that. Well, so with those four scores, 5.5, 10.5, 17.5, and 19.5, we average out to 10.75, which puts us squarely between Apollo 13 and Michael Clayton. This is now the 11th best movie of all time.
Just
of
barely.
Season 5. Which I'm good with. Last up order of business, it means I got to pick a movie. It's my turn. And, this is one of those, Anthony, when you play a card that means the points don't matter, it gets you what you want, which is that I don't care about this game this month, so I'm just going to pick what I'm most interested in seeing that I know is allowed.
Movies, though, Jamie Kennedy, are you picking The Son of the Mask?
There's so many good options with Jamie Kennedy. I considered having us watch Heckler, his documentary about how bad he is at stand-up.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. That is so bad.
He set out to make a movie about hecklers, and he is so bad at stand-up that every scene where someone heckles him, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm with them.
Yeah,
well, making very good points, Jamie. You might want to listen to what these people are saying to you.
There's so many people like Jamie Kennedy that were Jamie Kennedy was fucking everywhere for 4 years in the early 90s. I mean, and he's really good in stuff like this. In Scream, he's obviously has a super iconic character and really delivers that performance super well. And it's so upsetting to watch. And I wonder about this about modern stars now. But so many people who I really loved when I was very, very young, I loved them in movies, and I've just watched them grow up to be horrible stand-ups with awful alt-right shitty views.
Yeah.
Like him, Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. Jeez.
Jim Brewer is the other one who's really lost his fucking mind.
That clip of Jim Brewer at the convention a few months ago where he was doing a chicken impression for 6 minutes straight.
It's so fucking sad to have watched all of these
I see how it happens because you're like Jamie Kennedy. You are famous and you are in these comedic roles. How would you like to make $50,000 a weekend? All you have to do is tell 3 stories and talk to the crowd a little bit, and then that you're now a stand-up. And maybe he did stand-up before. I don't know that. He surely doesn't show the chops of having done it before. But man, that movie really, really. It's fascinating he put it out, that he was willing to put out a movie about how bad he is at stand-up.
Well, and one of the things about Bowfinger, I think that if like Eddie Murphy's his main character Kid's a little extreme, but I do think that this movie does capture the way that like all celebrities are going through some version of this psychosis, right? You just can't be that, like anyone at that level, anyone whose last 8 movies have been the biggest 8 movies of that year, right? The people you're surrounded by, the people coming after you, like maybe you don't think you're going to ignite and a giant foot is going to squash you and need to show it to the Laker girls. But everyone who has any kind of level of success, you have to develop some kind of psychosis, right? Just to protect yourself from the insanity of it. And so people like Jamie Kennedy, who would never at that level, but they were fucking huge for a few years. They got to make whatever they wanted. The passion projects they made, like Malibu's Most Wanted or Son of the Mask or whatever, really tanked. And that's just going to break your brain even more, you know? Like, it's just...
Yeah. It's wild. I'll just to cut to the chase because we got to get out of here. We're traveling via Eddie Murphy, and we're going to watch Shrek. Okay.
What?
Now, hear me out. Look, I saw Shrek when it came out ages ago, and I remember thinking, like, I guess that's kind of funny. That's all right for a non-Disney cartoon. But in the last 10, 20 years, the internet has gotten so horny for Shrek, and I do not totally understand why, and I would like to. So this is not picking the best movie, Anthony, which is one of the options. Instead, I'm using... But when you get rid of points, it's just giving me... I can make whatever project I want.
So now
it's
Shrek time.
The original... Read it and weep premise, which is like, why is everybody so horny for this thing? I would like to understand. That was the original.
So here's what you're saying. You're saying we're going to watch Shrek next week.
Yes.
You're basically guaranteeing, with us really no option to get out of it, of Austin Powers being like the week after that.
We already watched Austin Powers. We probably aren't going to watch Austin Powers. We might watch Austin Powers 3. We might watch. Which I think we could have gotten to with Heather Graham anyway. So I'm like,
no, she's in 2. She's in the Spy
doing Austin Powers right now.
Anyway, I guess that's what.
I think. The point is, Alex,
we thought Austin Powers held up a little better than we were expecting.
Yeah,
we kind of enjoyed it.
The first Austin Powers is legitimately a great movie.
I watched a great video essay on it like 2 years ago, so I could believe that.
Hey, it's legitimately a great movie. It honestly is one of like the only comedies that has actual good sexual dynamics to it in terms of like what Austin believes about like, he wants to fuck a lot, but he's also like not going to sleep with a drunk woman. He's very, very respectful. Like stuff that you never see in comedy, especially in the 90s, is a character going, no, I'm not going to sleep with you. You're drunk. It wouldn't be right. That has never been in a comedy before 2020, except for Austin Powers. But the point is, what you're trying to say, Alex, is that somebody once told me the world was going to roll me. You ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
My finger and my thumb in the shape of an L on my forehead. And you don't stop coming. And you won't stop.
I mean, look, someone's going to smash in the mouth next week. I don't know who it is. It might be all 4 of us, but we're going to smash some mouths. We're going to understand why Shrek is what it is. I'm so curious. I think we are all 4 to 6 years too old for Shrek. Not in our age, like not just like for what its target demographic is to what we are now, but it came out 4 to 6 years too late for us to be in the place where it has the nostalgia thing that I think the internet is so obsessed with it right now. We were just a little bit too old for it when it came out. That's my guess.
Look, Shrek opens with Shrek wiping his ass with fairy tales. Right, that's literally the very first thing that happens in the movie, and it's like
that's cinema right there.
Metaphor for the movie, you know.
That's how you open a movie, is show me the whole movie just in his ass, I guess.
Yeah.
Show me the whole movie and also make it ass based.
Yeah, please some sort of ass based metaphors only for the first
we're
shot.
gonna find out, you guys. That's how we're gonna mess around. We're gonna smash around and see what our mouths look like.
You know what's so messed up about this?
You're
is
an
somebody
all-star.
actually forced me like a month ago to watch Shrek 2.
Oh,
and I was
no.
like, I don't want to watch Shrek 2.
Okay, so you know where it goes.
They were like, you have to watch Shrek 2. Shrek 2. The way they goaded me is they kept saying Shrek 2 is a masterpiece. They just kept saying it over and over.
Oh man!
And so this is funny that
Did
now
you find
you
it to
are.
be a masterpiece.
It was fine. I mean, it's funny. it's funny.
Okay.
Yeah. I got some stuff I could say about Shrek. Shrek's kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the
good.
story behind Shrek and like Chris Farley was originally attached, and then he died, and they had to re-record all his dialogue with Mike Myers. And Mike Myers loves doing Scottish accents. Eddie Murphy's legitimately really good in Shrek.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I think there's some stuff to talk about here. It's not
I'm
good movie
making
week.
waffles.
It's
It's
Line
interesting.
from Shrek.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that all more next week. Let's get out of here. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you to those who watch on youtube.com/AlexFalcone. And we appreciate you guys hanging in there with the Tech Problems cast. You guys were very good, despite what terrible stuff you went through this morning. Hunter, thanks for being here for part of it, most of it.
Hey, I'm sorry. Sorry I was late.
You're good. Ezra, thanks for hanging out.
Of course.
And Anthony Lopez, it's always great to chat with you.
My wife's gonna leave me when I tell her we have to watch Shrek. That's on you, Alex.
I'm gonna be on the road because I'm traveling for comedy this next 2 weeks, so this is gonna be probably an airplane movie for me. But I'm not gonna make Megan watch it, much to her delight, probably. But good luck, Anthony. Keep your relationship together. We'll talk to you next week for Shrek. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.